You know what time it is.
F-U-L-L-O-U-D. We got control, we got the right, we got the vision, you lose the sight. We will never stop. What? We got the drop, yeah.
What time is it? Full. We're live in 5, 6, 7, 8. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are back after taking a few weeks off. We are back here with a Coach's Corner episode. I'm your host, Steve Solberg, and a couple weeks ago, we had the honor and privilege of talking about the U.S. National All-Girl Team with Coach Tony Nash and a bunch of the athletes from that program. And to kind of keep the 4th of July thing going, this week, we are going to talk about the U.S. Coed National Team, getting coaches and athlete perspective about just the whole journey of putting that routine together, what it takes to try out to make the U.S. national team, and then the whole experience from a co-ed perspective down in Florida, getting ready and just preparing that routine in such a short amount of time. But again, I am Steve Solberg. I'm super excited to bring in everybody. We have some great guests here tonight to talk about the U.S. co-ed national team. But before we start that, do want to just give a shout out to my sponsor, CheerChalk. Go to cheerchalk.us and put in the discount code FULLOUT10 to get an additional 10% off the awesome product of CheerChalk. So again, go to cheerchalk.us to get additional 10% off if you put the discount code of FULLOUT10 in. So I am super excited to get right into this. This is going to be a lot of fun. First, we're going to bring in assistant coach Christa Sanford. Christa, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Very excited to hear a coach's point of view about the tryout process and everything. We're going to bring in our first athlete here 2 times on the team. One of the originals from the program, Ben Schreiber, also the coach at Ohio State. Ben, how are you, buddy?
Doing fantastic, Steve. Thanks for having me tonight.
You're very welcome. All right, we're bringing in Whitney Love. Whitney's been on the team here now for 4 years. So Whitney, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. And we're bringing in one of my former guests from Full Out Chats from Weber State, Kollin Cockrell. Kollin, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Steve. Thank you for asking.
You are very welcome. Thanks for taking the time tonight. And our last one is Jay and Whitney Holman joining us on the road here. Jay and Whitney, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
First, want to give a shout out to Jay and Whitney. They literally just got married. Yes, congrats. I found a beautiful picture. Beautiful wedding. It looked like awesome. Jay, that tux is fly, my friend. That thing is fly. Oh, man, that's great. Yes. You guys are welcome. So thank you for taking the time to join us after getting married last week. So thanks again for being here. And I just want to thank you all again for being here and talking about your experience being on the U.S. National Co-ed team. And, you know, the big thing that a lot of people, I think, have a misconception about it is kind of, you know, the tryouts of it. People really don't know the process of tryouts or what to expect from tryouts or what they think they need to do for tryouts. So, you know, I'm going to start with Christa first. From a coach's point of view, Christa, you know, when you walk in, you're in Orlando, it's done in Florida, down after UCA Nationals, college nationals. You know, what is the vibe of tryouts and kind of what is the process and what are you looking for as a coach when it comes to trying out for the co-ed team?
Well, first of all, coming off of such an exciting weekend, there's even more excitement going into that for me. It is, you know, for athletes, they might think it's intimidating, but for me as a coach, I'm very intimidated walking in there just for the United States and getting it right, representing USA Cheer and getting it right, representing these athletes and other coaches and getting it right. That's very intimidating. And then on top, you start looking at the amazing talent that's surrounding you, and you're just like, oh gosh, well, I mean, how do you cut down these numbers and how do you get there? And so, so it gets a little nerve wracking, but then once you see all of the great I don't know, you see all these universities represented, and you see all this talent represented, and just everybody coming together and automatically like vibing for just a bigger purpose, regardless if they know they're going to be named to the team, is it's an experience that it's really hard to put into words, because the whole thing with USA Cheer is kind of like that. And I think athletes will say the same too. It's just not your normal year. It's not what normal teams get, what teams go through. And so as a coach going into the tryout process, we do get the list, and we're looking, we're all excited. And then there's the ones that we hadn't met yet, and we don't know because maybe we haven't looked at their Instagram or their, wherever they are, maybe we just don't know yet. And so as we're going through the process, it's just, it's very, I don't want to call it stressful, but it is just kind of something like, you're like, wow, look at this person, and then look at this person, and then look at this person. And I'm supposed to say, yeah, we're going to take this and this and this. Like, it's just a big responsibility. And it's also, such an incredible honor to be able to be in that position and to be able to watch these athletes come in front of us for that opportunity. So it's really cool. It's very special. It's very honorable, and super exciting.
Just so you know, Christa,
yeah,
that, Tony Nash is watching, and he says, be ready for lots of questions. So just be ready for that.
Yeah, bring it on, Tony. Bring it on, honey bell.
So something that we do have that we actually talked about it in the post show when we kind of chat afterwards. What we didn't have last time with the all girls show was actually I had all UCA athletes, and so we actually have a good mixture here. We have UCA and NCAA athletes, which I think is really cool because for the UCA athlete, the tryouts are happening right after they're competing, so they're at their peak shape. Whereas the opposite for the NCAA kids, unless their competing partner starts like Colin or something. But on the flip side, as you're preparing for the actual routine, that's the heart of NCAA season and not UCA season. And so I think that's going to be very cool to hear from both. So first I want to go to Jay and Whitney, kind of about, Jay cheered at UCF, Whitney cheered at the University of Kentucky, two great programs, very competitive. So, your mindset down in Florida is obviously to win a national championship. But then after that Sunday, you kind of got to flip it and then go into that Monday for USA tryouts. Kind of talk about your guys' experience, going from competing right into trying out for the USA.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is when we came into making the decision to try out for the U.S. national team, it was more so like, for me at least, it was more so I needed to be focused on my team first and then be able to have, like you said, flip that switch to go into that on Monday for the actual tryout process. So it was kind of like with our times of us practicing all the time and things like that, we really didn't have that much time to be able to get outside the gym to continue to work on skills that you would like to throw at the U.S. national team tryout. But we just had to kind of like work around that and find different ways that we could actually work on those different skills, whether that was Whitney, honestly, just being there, stunning with me to help me out, or just throwing different skills in my tumbling passes with regards to UCF to prepare me for the U.S. national team tryout.
Yeah, I think Jay did a really good job explaining that. For me, it was never at Kentucky. We were not allowed to try out for USA until you were technically a senior or you were graduating or leaving the program, because our spring semester is really hard with basketball tournaments and, all that comes with that. So we weren't allowed to try out. So it was never like USA was something that I never thought I was going to get the pleasure to do. It wasn't really part of like my plan. I was kind of taking it year by year. And the year that I did decide to try out, I did have that mindset. I was technically a senior, so I had been through this process a couple times before. This was now my fourth year. So I went into it with the process that my team came first. And then, that Monday morning came at 7 a.m. and I was like, okay, this is go time. And I actually did. The first year I tried out, I would try it out with a skill that was in our routine. I tried out with our elite, with my stunt partner. And that made it, I think, a little bit easier on me because it was something that we had competed that weekend before. And, you know, I'd been tumbling. And so, like, I already felt like I was comfortable on the mat. So I guess it did make it a little bit more comfortable for me personally, on top of everything else, because that's such a busy weekend, like Christa said. But I think it benefited us in that aspect for sure.
Just another shout out to you guys from LeRoy Harris.
Hi, Louie.
Hi, just says hi, newlyweds. Good old Louie. Louie's awesome. She just wants to say hi to you guys. So obviously we're talking about tryouts, but when it comes down to tryouts, you got to have the decision maker, and the decision maker is Mr. LeRoy McCullough, who was able to join us. LeRoy, how are you, my friend? Good seeing you.
Man, I'm doing good. How's everybody?
We're doing.
I know. You like that? That's that old man right there. That's my COVID protest beard.
I like that.
So, LeRoy, we were talking just kind of about the tryout process. A lot of people don't know what the process is. They don't know kind of what to expect. What are the coaches looking for? Christa gave some great perspective in regards to that. But obviously, being the head coach of the Coed team now for quite a while, there are specific things you are looking for. A cool thing that we talked about in the USA All Girl episode was just kind of how we feel like people since they don't know the process, are kind of intimidated by it, so they don't try, which is kind of sad. So kind of from your point of view, obviously as the head coach, what are you looking for? And when people walk that door on that Monday in Orlando, what should they expect, and what are you looking for? Honestly,
they should expect to be surrounded by like the best that the country has to offer. So for a lot, that can be intimidating. But what we're looking for is those athletes that are confident in their abilities. We're looking for the best of the best, and that's really just it. We kind of approach it as a puzzle, and we know what pieces we need to be successful. We know how many of those pieces, and so we are looking for specific elements. We need tippy tops. We need middle layers. We need basket girls. So we kind of look for all of those elements. We need for our tumblers to be able to at least be underneath the pyramid, and if they can contribute in the stunt category, that's even better. So really just being all around, and maybe you're not amazing at every single thing, but you have something that you're amazing at. But the more you can contribute to the final outcome, the better.
So Ben tried out in 2010, which is that was videos as he was talking about. So I think that's a cool perspective, talking about kind of the difference between 2010 and then Ben comes out of retirement, does it again in 2015. Ben, kind of talk about the evolution that you saw from the really early days of USA Coed to kind of we're right in the middle of it of 2015, and you're still involved, I know, with USA Cheer and go to ICU, and kind of where it is today.
Yeah. 2010 was either the second or the third year that the U.S. had a team that competed at the ICU World Championships. And it was really fun to watch the year before, having a lot of friends on the team and really no one knowing what to expect that first year. And after watching that first year, me and my partner at the time decided that we definitely wanted to try out. And back then, the tryout process, as you mentioned, was different. We had to first submit a video, and then you were invited to a tryout that was held in Atlanta, Georgia, at Stingray All-Stars. That was going to be the training location that year. The first couple of years, the team, switched training locations at different places of the country. So, made the team very fortunate to do that. And, we trained in Atlanta for about a week and a half, and then had a nice long bus ride from Atlanta to Orlando, then competed, and were fortunate enough to win. Fast forward a couple of years later, would have loved to have been able to go back in 2011 and even 2012, but I had been coaching at the University of Delaware then and just had a lot of scheduling conflicts and wasn't able to work out. And being able to come back then in 2015, when I was at Ohio State and just started coaching there, I know LeRoy and Christa had been already coaching for a little bit, and just to see the amount of talent, the growth in the sport from 2010 to 2015 was amazing. 2010 was a super talented team, and then coming back 5 years later, just the amount of people doing the same elite skills was absurd. It was crazy to watch. And as you mentioned, fortunate enough to be a board member for USA Cheer. So I do get to go down and watch the championships, and every year, to see the growth, not only from the U.S., but even other teams around the world, as they've almost caught up. But just the growth of cheerleading around the world has been great to see, and it helps keep everyone pushing to a new level.
So now I'm excited to talk to Whitney and Colin here. I mean, they are the NCAA kids, the kids that have a completely different schedule from the UCA kids. So I'm going to go to Whitney first. Whitney, coming into USA tryouts, again, I don't know. I don't know the NCAA schedule. Maybe you're starting to work on some things for your routine by then. But, I mean, how are you preparing for USA tryouts? But then also kind of flipping the switch of, okay, I have NCAA coming up in April, and then, oh my gosh, I have USA again in later April. Kind of talk about your schedule and how, from an NCAA perspective, athlete perspective, for that.
I think that it's very different, obviously. Like, even you just saying that, you go back and forth, and you go from like one mindset to another mindset. And I think for me, it keeps me, I am severely ADHD. So like, I'm able to commit to all of that and go one thing, bounce back to the other. But I do know people that have struggled with it, especially with school and stuff involved in that. But for me, I would always start really focusing on USA around October, and then, tryouts are in January. And I felt like that kind of prepared me for the Daytona season, for all the work that I was about to do in that, because that always, it starts in February, March. So then I would I would just stay in shape from January or December all the way through the end of ICU. And, excuse me, it's interesting because you're training for two different things, but in a sense, it's still the same thing. So I was able to be, a middle layer on USA, and then I was a middle layer on OSU. The only difference is that the routine shape is what I really had to focus on. So I had to go do a lot of like endurance training stuff outside of it, because other than training for Daytona, you don't get that anywhere else. And I feel like when I did NCAA college nationals, and then I did ICU, it was like, I'm not going to say like a walk in the park, but I was like at tip top shape. And that was my 5th year in college as well. So I had pretty much, I did a pretty good job at preparing my body for NCAA. But after that, we left the next day to go to training in Orlando back when I first started doing USA. So it was not easy, but that compared to the next year when I was just a normal person that didn't do really any college training, it was a lot different. So I will say that preparing for NCAA college nationals is definitely something I would promote, because it does help you a lot with the timing of ICU and stuff. So
now I'll go to Colin here, because Colin, you compete in partner stunts, so you are obviously working on some very elite stuff. Are you, basically incorporating stuff from your UC partner routine into what you plan to also do at USA tryouts?
Yeah, so basically all the partner stunting training I do with like the flyers I've had in the past, we try to do very creative stunts, something that's very abnormal. So a lot of the partner stunting training we do is obviously repetition upon repetition, more consistency. So typically for example, this year for 2020, my flyer, Elsa Hassett, we came into the tryout and we just thought, okay, we just want to be completely different to what everyone else is going to throw, because, there's a lot of people that are throwing the same exact skills. LeRoy and Christa have seen like basically everything out there. So the best thing to do, especially my position as a stunter, because my tumbling I can offer, but it's not my strongest pursuit. So the best thing I do is I try to rep out skills that are different amongst the people that are trying out. So yes, when it comes to trying out and for my partner stunting training, I do throw in some of the skills that are in my partner stunting training to USA for the tryout. But when it comes to the USA tryout, if they're saying, hey, this is the elite we want to do, we got to kind of keep it on the low key. So we have to, substitute with a different skill. But most important, yeah, we have a set schedule of skills we want to do for USA and for our NCAA routine.
I'm gonna go to Jay and Whitney. So Jay and Whitney, January, you are in tip-top shape. You are probably feeling great, and then basketball season, and Whitney had alluded to, NCAA tournaments you're traveling, and so like the mindset does kind of shift. And then all of a sudden, April rolls around. It's, oh crap, we got to put this routine together in like 10 days. So, talk about that. Like going from basketball games. Oh my gosh, I got to put together this routine in 10 days.
I got a story for you. So
see, this is what I want. I want stories.
Everybody on USA had told me before, Jay. You don't realize
2 years before his first year.
You don't realize how hard this is gonna be. And I'm like, it's just like all I'm really gonna be doing is tumbling. Like, okay. And they're like, Jay, you don't understand. You're gonna have to tumble, but you're gonna have to tumble more than you've ever tumbled. Because at UCF, let's be honest, all I was ever doing was Arabian through the full. I may put in a full in there just from time to time. So they were like, Jay, you're gonna be hurting. But on top of that, you got to do ice baths. I said, ice baths? You out your mind if you think I'm about to get in an ice bath. Y'all lying. And they literally told me, they were like,
it's like if
Jay,
you think Anna's gonna
mandatory.
Let
They said it is mandatory that you get in this ice bath at least once in this training. I said, they are not getting me in this ice bath. I do not do that. And so fast forward to training, first day, all these tumblers are just having so much fun tumbling. I'm just standing like this. I'm not about to do nothing unless I have to. So then all the tumblers are tumbling. So like my competitiveness came out and I'm like, oh, I got to tumble too. Like now I got to tumble. So then 2 days, I'm making fun of all them after the first practice. They all are getting in the ice baths. They got they're trying to get cooked by
I'm like, Honda, please take care of me. Fix me.
I'm making fun of them. I'm like, y'all tripping. Y'all worn out. Well, third day comes on. LeRoy made us tumble full out over and over and over again. That's the most I've tumbled in my life.
You texted me too. I told you.
At lunch break, I ran. I said, I need to go to this ice bath right now. I went and got in that ice bath. I said, I need you to put any type of power you can do into my legs because I'm not going to make it. I was crying in this ice bath. I was crying with but like when I tell you, it was like life hit me hard. And I know LeRoy was probably laughing at me because he was probably looking at me like, Jay got all that power, but now it's kind of dwindling down a little bit. My legs was hurting.
That's so funny.
I tried to warn him. I tried to help. He wasn't listening.
Everybody
was making fun of me. I was like, do you not understand? I have been thrown around for the past 2 days and you're making fun of me? But I gotta agree, the first 2 years that I did it, like I said, we weren't allowed to try out until we were technically a senior graduating. And so the first year I tried out, it was the same year I won partner stunt. And so I had been training partner stunt right after UCA all through NCA. And I did that for 2 years. I lost the second year, obviously. But that training helped me. And then the year after that, when I wasn't in college anymore and I was a regular,
we were done.
Yes, what you said, I was I tried to work out, I tried to keep my body in shape. It is not the same, you guys. It is not the same at all. I was like, LeRoy, I can't move. I was like, I can't do it. It's not my body doesn't work anymore. I am old. And he was like, I think this is your best season yet, though. And I was like,
he always is saying that though until Holman and Costa Rica, and then I'm like crying. But he doesn't believe me, and I fall on a handful, and he's like, "You're good." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not good. I'm not good."
The day I knew that Whitney Love was not good is the day that we were training for Poland, and she fell on her out off handspring pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even messing with you. And I was like, LeRoy, I need a break, and he's like, "Are you sure? You look great." Yeah.
It's a positive reinforcement way.
I know.
Yeah.
I picked it up and I was fine.
Training through that helps, but it is not the same whenever you take that. It is not the same.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the all girl episode that majority of the athletes are current college kids, but there are some that are not. They are working. They are
Don't know how to
taking.
do it.
I don't either, but let's talk to Ben Schreiber about that. Ben, yes. I mean, Ben, you literally took 5 years off before you went and did it again. I mean, talk about just number one, when the second time around, did you ever regret it? Did you ever be like, why did I do this again? And like,
No.
how was it? How was it the second time? Just your body wise, you're older, you're working, you're not cheering all the time.
Yeah. Well, the good thing, I mean, I was coaching, so I was around it all the time. It was my second year coaching at Ohio State, and there was a female that really wanted to try out for the team. And at that time, we really didn't have any male team members that really were kind of at the level that she needed to kind of help train her. So I told her I would work with her a lot and help her. And we stunted, before every practice, after every practice, and then even sometime in the afternoons. And, it helped get me back, into stunting shape with the volume that was needed. I will say this, talking about the ice baths, I started ice bathing before we even got down there. Just trying to prepare myself.
That's just smart.
Yep. I mean, I think I'm still the oldest person to ever do it. And I'm not going to say the age, but it was in the 30s, in 2015. But no, I don't regret it at all. And we were not fortunate to win in 2015, but still that experience, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, representing the United States. It's something it's different than representing a college. Even when you're at a major college or university, you feel that you're a part of something bigger. But when it's for the country, it just takes it to a different level. It's a different perspective. So, even though we didn't win, I definitely don't regret it. I just my only regrets were not being able, with my schedule to do it or even try out other years, because it is such a remarkable opportunity.
Yeah.
Let's go to the coaches here, LeRoy and Christa. I mean, I said this a couple weeks ago with Albert. Like, I love ICU because that's probably the only competition I go to where I can be like a fan, where I can just sit and watch and just enjoy the whole spectacle, which I love to do. Any other time I'm either coaching or I'm recruiting. So like ICU is like the one thing where I can like watch. And what has really been so much fun to watch is the evolution of everybody. I mean, the USA has gotten better, but the other countries have gotten so much better. And as has been alluded to, it was kind of like USA basketball. We dominated in the beginning, but then as other teams got better, you are going to lose every once in a while, and it does happen. But it's crazy to me that you guys put together this routine in like 10 days, and I think that's unbelievable. It's crazy.
That's where this gray comes from, right here.
We think it's crazy too.
That's all that gray right here.
Just so you know, Louis had another one for Grandpa LeRoy with the beard. So that was from Louis. Just Grandpa LeRoy. But talk about, first of all, obviously the coaches, I'm sure, are planning it. Kind of talk about the process of putting the routine together, the preparation for it, if any, before leading up. And then obviously once you get there, you have this short amount of time to put it together. Kind of talk about what goes into creating the USA routine.
Well, before LeRoy goes, I'm gonna stop him for a minute because he's not going to. LeRoy has like this vision that he gets, and it is so incredible. Like when he's like, "Do you think we can do this?" And I'm like, "If we came up with it, I think we're going to try." So because I think any way that we manipulate it, it's going to be cool. So let's go in and try. And like the vision, and it continues to build on that in a leadership position to us as coaches to then put it out to the team. So that's really how it starts beginning, and it starts really kind of at the end of, we get off, the mat on the final day of ICU, and then it's kind of like the next day you kind of let that soak in, and then it's off into the next year. And so his leadership of that and the things that he comes up with and the creativity and Just he's definitely an innovator in that. And that is what I love about being a part of it. Beside him is that he has that vision and then gives us the opportunity to work through that and go out and lead the team. So I'm going to let him share some of that vision.
Oh, thanks, Christa.
I love you. Friend.
Yeah. So I think, like, along with what Ben was talking about the process and how it's evolved, I think leading up to 2015, like, we kind of had some freedom to experiment while we were there and then throw stuff together, and we were able to be successful. 2015 was the first time that formula kind of didn't work for us. And so we kind of had to get a little more efficient with our time. So I know for me, that was probably an epiphany for me as a coach, and it kind of brought all my personal weaknesses that I feel like I have to the forefront for me. And so it kind of changed my mentality. I feel like as a coaching staff, we got more structured with our pre-preparation. So we started having more calls before, and we kind of had an idea of what we wanted to do when we got there versus, all right, guys, it's the first day, let's play. And so that, I think that gave us an opportunity to be able to build things that we knew had potential and scrap things that we didn't think had potential and be able to progress a little bit quicker. Like you said, that 10 days goes really, really fast. And so I think for me, having Christa like on the schedule and on the clock and going, hey, this is what we need to get done today. And that kind of way, because like Whitney talked about her ADD, I got ADD as an adult. And so I tend to, especially in a creative environment, I tend to stray, and I'll stay and keep playing with an element over and over and over again until we figure it out. So just having that voice to remind me, hey, let's keep it going, it made us more efficient. We kind of start our first day with, well, before we even get together, once we pick the team now, we use social media a lot. That's how we kind of determine what skills we want to hone in on when it comes to stunting. We feel like the athletes we pick, they can do the stunts with who they don't have anybody that's close by that made the team, then they can do it with their teammates. And so we give them tasks. The tasks are built around conditioning them to get them ready for the process and for us to be able to see if the things that we might want to put in the routine are actually possible. And at not just at I can hit it, but at an efficient rate. Like, so when we get there, it's not, well, these are hitting 4 out of 10 right now. Like, that's more of everybody's hitting these 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 when we arrive. So that helps us a lot with picking the elements that we're going to have in the routine. So we pick and choose what we're going to do based on that. And then from there, when we get together, that first night is kind of show and tell. Like at this point, Allie and Christa and I have already talked about, like, okay, we want to do these stunts in conjunction with one another. Let's get them to do them. And then we let them play, we watch, and we scrap stuff and was like, hey, let's switch this order, or hey, this should be the stunt that stands alone. We used to call it the IME, but lately we've kind of progressed from having what would be considered an intermediate stunt. It's just the stunt by itself or the stunt in a sequence. So we still call it that, but it's not really. Yeah, that just kind of gives us that plan as far as stunting. And then we play with pyramids a lot early on. That's the one thing you can't reproduce on social media. Like you can't post those elements. So we start playing hard with our pyramid ideas because it can make or break you. It's such a big chunk of the score sheet, and it's something that most teams take a long time to build that camaraderie and that timing and that unity to be able to do them successfully. And we have part of a 10-day period to be able to do that. So we try to really knock out those ideas early on, and it's brutal for our shoulder stand guys, and it's brutal for our middle layers. I can remember both Whitneys looking like peaches that somebody threw down the stairs just from people landing on them or them landing on people, and just whole bodies, sides having to be taped up because they've been kicked in the hip and stuff. Like, from full rewinds. It's hard. So really try to get those pyramid ideas nailed down early on so we can build that consistency. I think the biggest struggle that we have as a coaching staff is that the process is a double-edged sword, because you have the responsibility to build an amazing routine and you have to build the consistency to be able to do it. But in that window, you also can't break your toys. And so we have to be conscious of how hard we're pushing them. Like Jay was saying, like how hard their bodies were breaking by day 3. And so we kind of, along the way, we've kind of built out with Anda, who's our trainer, an idea of, okay, by this day, this is when the bodies start to break down and they start to fatigue. So we need to start to taper and readjust our thought process so that they can start to build back up. And we also try to like mentally coach them through that part, because I mean, lactic acid is a beast, and you can talk all you want to about, oh, you're not sore or you're going to warm up, but it still hurts. And I can remember one of my biggest memories from coaching this team was, I think it's 2017, I think, Christa, when we were doing the full twistings, and Millery having like a whole cast on her leg.
Yes.
And hers kept landing like a little short, so she kept getting the toes right in her quad every single time in the same spot. And I just remember it missed, and they catch the top girl, they bring her down, and I look up at Millery and she says, "Let's do it again." And then this one tear. And I was like, oh my God, it broke my heart. I was like, oh, here we go, 5, 6, 7, this is so long. But I mean, so those are the things that we have to, as coaches, we kind of got to juggle with, because you got to get to the goal, but you got to have the pieces to be able to do it once you get there. So
I feel that you would throw. Yeah. Sorry, Steve. I just
go
one of the volume things I remember is just, I feel in that 10-day period, you might, as a guy throwing every basket toss because they didn't want to use my tumbling for some reason, but yeah,
we're trying to save your knees. We're saving your knees,
buddy. I appreciate it. But throwing every basket toss, and if you probably throw more basket tosses in those 10 days than you went through like an entire national season, but it's worth it, and it's the slogan of NCAA, the work is worth it. It totally is. So people that are watching and listening and thinking about trying out, don't let some of these horse stories scare you, because it's fun to look back on it. It is 100% worth it.
Colin, I mean, clearly you are regarded as one of the best stunters in the country, in the world. And for people who have never seen an ICU routine, there is so much stunting in baskets and pyramids. I mean, it is nonstop, jam-packed skills. I mean, it is nonstop, especially the USA routines, because you guys literally are trying to show off everything you can do. I mean, Colin, for you, what was your first time being on the USA team? Kind of what was a couple of things that jumped out at you as like, holy cow, this is really freaking hard?
So I would just say like the creativity that LeRoy and Christa have. Basically, like, hold on a second. My mic is.
So basically, LeRoy have like in their thoughts, and what they want us to do is like, excuse me, like it's just all the time they like say, hey, I just remember 2019. I'll use this as an example because this was one stunt that I was like, are you serious? You really want us to try this? So he said, all right, Ryan Clonch, stand next to Colin. Colin, stand right here next to Ryan Clonch. All right, Ryan, you do a backhand spring up. Colin, you do a backhand spring up at the same exact time with the flyer standing right in front of you, and Colin, catch them in a double QP. And I was like, how? and, like, I was just thinking, like, how does he think of all this stuff? And then also, like, 2018, the front pop pyramid, that was really cool to do, like, cool to watch that. So I would just say a lot of it has to be with, like, the creativity that Christa, Ali, and LeRoy have to offer. And just because I've never in the world, because I always stunt, I love stunting. I think of like try to be creative with my stunting. But when it comes to LeRoy's thoughts, I'm thinking like, man, how does my coach think of this stuff? It's just out of this world. But I would say it's a blast. Like once you get it down, I just remember like doing the backhand spring double QP. And then, I was like, okay, cool. cool. That's awesome. Just back handspring, double QP. We got that down. But right after that, he said, drop toss, double up. So then go double up. And I was like, coach, oh my gosh. They have so much trust in us, and they have so much trust that like we can facilitate the skills. So after a while, you just learn like, holy crap, I'm really capable of doing all this. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the beauty of like representing the country and just like being an athlete for LeRoy and Christa and Allie is they have so much faith in you to like make you try these ridiculous things, like awesome things. But sometimes it's just like it's very mind blowing, and that's what really draws the crowd too. When we go out there, people are like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that's what I think. That's what is very cool about representing the country is just the creativity that we offer, and just like knowing that all the athletes, like the side spot, could even throw that skill if they needed to. But yeah, it's super cool being a part of that.
So we have about 20 minutes left, and this has been so much fun already. I think one of the coolest things about ICU is, you guys already talked about it, alluded to it, is you're representing your country. It's just something about it that's just so much more. It's something that you can't describe. With the country walkout, and then the international gathering, and then everything. I mean, it's an unbelievable experience. If anybody's watching that has never been to ICU, you have to go. It is so much fun. It's an unbelievable show. First, I'm going to go to Whitney Love here. So, Whit, your first time walking out wearing the red, white, and blue, you do everything. I mean, you're obviously an unbelievable tumbler. Your baskets are phenomenal. You're known for your baskets. Middle layer, partner study. You do everything in a routine usually, but kind of talk about like the difference between, I guess, and obviously you did great at Oklahoma State, won national championships there. But that first time wearing the red, white, and blue, how was that for you?
Oh gosh, I'm like getting butterflies thinking about it. I love it so much. I think that, so compared to, just representing like Oklahoma State or something, obviously like I take pride in Oklahoma State and at games and everything. Like you sit there and you look up and you cheer at, 50,000 plus people in the crowd and all of that pride in your university. And then the first time I put on the uniform was for a performance in 2016. Yeah. And it was just at like this little middle school or high school. And I think like it was just incredible because those people had like no idea who I was. We were just there representing the United States of America. And that in itself, it brings a lot of people together. So that was awesome. But then when I walked out, oh my gosh, for the opening ceremony part, it was unbelievable. I feel like it really is. It's hard to describe, but it's honestly, it's the pinnacle of my cheerleading career. I think that a lot of people could say that. You don't necessarily feel as though like, oh, I made it or whatever, but it was like, oh, finally I get to represent, this country doing what I love and knowing everything that cheerleading has gone through and, where we started and now where we are and stuff. It's a sense of honor. And to be able to say that I took part in, getting it to wherever it is now it's like an honor to me. And so, yeah, it's very hard to describe, but it's something just on a bigger spectrum than it would be just as, university, all the pain and all of the good memories and all of, those really long practices or, multiple a day, whatever, it's all worth it. Because again, you get to go out there and you get to say, I did this and this was my choice. They took me because I was able to risk, putting myself out there and being amongst the best of the best. Like literally they take the best of the best. And the fact that we're all chosen to be coached by the coaches that we are and to represent the country that we do, it's an honor for sure. So it's something that's very hard to explain, but I think that it's just bigger than any of us could ever really describe.
Jay and Whitney, same thing. I mean, 3 times. Jay got to do it once. I mean, you guys obviously have cheered for huge crowds at your schools, obviously have competed for national championships at UCA. Whitney, you've got to compete at the band shell for partner stunts at NCA. All great venues, all great experiences. Compared to the first time that you got to actually walk out in the red, white, wearing the red, white, blue, and representing the United States?
For me?
For either of you, yeah.
Okay. So honestly, for the first time that I got to walk out with the red, white, and blue, it was honestly at the showcase. And it was kind of like more so, we kind of got an opportunity to look at the younger people, the other different teams like the junior Coed and the junior all-girl teams, and we got to practice with them. And we got to see just how talented they were, and they were looking up to us. They like, if you haven't seen them, you need to go watch videos of them because they are absolutely amazing. And I just remember just taking that time to watch them practice, taking that time to just take that all in to get to know them a little bit more and to understand that I'm where they want to be. And so, like, I took more pride in it even more after I realized that. And so when it came down to competing in front of everybody at the ICU World Championships, it was almost to the point where I'm backstage. Normally, I'm off to myself. I don't talk to anybody. Like, if you come up to me, I'm sorry, I'm just going to ignore you at that point. But for USA, it was just like, it felt like we had done it so many times because we had, and it was a sense of pride in it. It wasn't even nerve-wracking or anything like that. It's just because you came out there and you knew what you had to offer and what you were going to put out on the floor, and you trusted your teammates fully. And then you had that pride when you stepped out on the floor. It was just like a whole different thing of like, you wasn't doing it for yourself anymore. You were doing it for everybody that wanted to be a part of that team and for everyone that had been able to be a part of that team in the past.
Yeah. My first year, I remember in 2017, I was coming off of this like big year. Like 2017 was my big year. It was the year that I say the best in my cheer career. Like, I had won UCA with my team. I had won NCA. And I know Colin knows what I'm talking about because he just won all of the above and UCA partner stunt and NCA with his team and NCA partner stunt. Like, amazing. Like, so you come off like this big year, and like I really didn't know what to expect, but I remember getting that uniform for like our fittings to make sure, because they always make sure we're gonna look good, because you gotta look good when you're in the red, white, and blue. And I remember laying it out on the bed before and like taking a picture and just being like, oh my gosh, like, this is it. I've done it. Like, this is it. And I thought that was like such a crazy moment. And then when I got done with it, like, and even when we got new uniforms the next year, like, every time that I put it on, I never wanted to take it off. And it's not even just about like having the uniform itself, but it's such a different process, and it's such a different atmosphere, and it's different people all working together for something that, like we've all said, is like way bigger than you are, and it's done in 10 days, and the process is so hard. And LeRoy and Christa will always say this at practice, like, the moment that you step off the floor, it's so worth it. All that pain is gone, it's done, and it's so worth it because you're so proud of what you've done, and they're so proud of us, and everyone else in that arena is so proud of you because they just want you to do well. So it's like it is about the uniform, but it's not even about the uniform. It's about saying that you did it, and it's about saying that, like, I put in this work for something that was way bigger than myself, and it's not even about me, and that's okay that it's not about me. Like,
there's something special about
insanely
a group of
amazing.
people coming together. Yeah.
I mean, Colin, Whitney.
Yes, and having so many people, like we've talked about, NCA people and UCA people coming together for this, like,
Right, a common
that
goal.
is just like, we all care about the same thing. Yes, and everyone has the same mindset, and you're so in it together, and we have amazing coaches
and then you just keep
will
pushing.
set us
That's
up
like
for success in any way, shape, or form that they need to make sure that we. Yes, and you come back, and it makes you want to do it again and again and again. Like, you don't ever want to leave it.
Ever.
And I think I can speak for everyone, but it was like,
Wait, time out.
You never
you say you want to keep
leave
coming
it.
back? Is that what I heard?
You never.
Let's go.
You have this recorded, right?
It's recorded.
This is recorded, right?
I'm taking all the notes.
You already have a commitment from Whitney and Jay. That's good. You have a commitment there. And Whitney Love. All right.
I tried to get her to go.
I would come back. I have to say, I would come back. But
Listen, I
was
was coming back. And then
if I know
life
that I am offering my very best for the program, because the program deserves nothing less than my very best and not a subpar version of myself. So
And we appreciate that.
That was the hardest thing ever, because I literally was trying so hard. But going back to it, I think all of us it made it worth it whenever we got to stand up there during the national anthem. That was the best part
when we sing
I've
it and
ever been a part
everything.
of, just because not only just your team and your country are standing up proud of you, but it's everybody that you have competed against. They're all standing up in that that respect, and it was just a very respectable competition. Everybody that comes to you from every different country, every different team, they coming to you and they want to meet you. But ultimately, it's not just so much about meeting you. It's about meeting the program that has set the standard for cheerleading. So I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. Before I get to the coaches, because this has been awesome, these stories have been great. I want to get to the coaches here in a bit. But Colin, you've won at every level. I mean, we talked about it in your full out chat. You got to represent the USA for weightlifting, for powerlifting. And, so you've actually got to represent now the United States in 2 different sports. I mean, kind of talk about just putting it on and kind of the difference between, because weightlifting is completely individual. It is just you alone out there, where you're out there with a team. You're out there with 23 other people, and you're rocking this routine out. Kind of talk about the differences and kind of just your mindset going into representing your country.
So, yeah, it was a true blessing. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the mentors and coaches I've had in my life. And it definitely had its ups and downs with going from the transition from weightlifting to cheerleading. The thing is that it took me the longest to understand is I'm lifting a human instead of a weight. And when I was doing weightlifting, I'm like, let's go. Just by myself, I could take my time, no feelings. That barbell had no feelings at all. But with cheerleading, you can't really do that. I'm like, go. But so if my flyer's not ready to do the stunt, I can't, I got to obey it. She's hurting or she's tired, just wants to rest a little bit. I have to, obey or just stay put. And that's what one thing I had to do is be patient. And also with weightlifting, it's you versus the weight. You just got to lift the weight and your task is done. And with cheerleading, not only that, you got your partner that you got to do, and also a formation that you have to remember to go in your spot so you don't get ran over by a tumbling pass and also counts and making sure you do this on time. That was the hardest thing for me to do is weightlifting. I just look at the clock. I saw I had 30 seconds left. Then I go lift the weight versus cheerleading 5, 6, 7, grab 1, go 3, 5, 7, grab 1, go 3. And I'm that was oh my gosh. My first year when I made the transition from weightlifting to cheerleading, I had a migraine every day, a year. Every day, it was the hardest. That was the hardest thing to do. And people at Weber State got so I obviously represented USA for weightlifting, which is really cool. I had some really good memories with that, and showing off the weights I can lift. But people when I came into cheerleading, the Weber State cheerleaders acted like I was a veteran. I was a 5th year, and it was my first year. And then they say, "All right, Colin, do a toss hands, shoulders, and then prep base a 1-1-1." I'm like, "What is that?" What is that? And then Colin, throw this basket. So, for example, all right, Whitney, if I threw her in a basket, they say, "Colin, throw this basket," and so Whitney can do her pike open double. I'm like, was that a back tuck or something, or a back flip? So that was the thing, just trying to get the language, trying to get the terms all down. That was the hardest transition out of all of it. But once, after hearing about it, the whole entire time, every day, the whole entire season, all that, the migraines I was going through, it was starting to get ease out. It's almost like if you go to a different country and you can't speak Spanish, eventually you're going to learn how to speak Spanish. So that's how it was. I learned how to speak Cuban, and sure enough, like I finally got the transition, and then all of the stuff I learned, training for the Olympics and weightlifting, the principles of eating good, recovery, making sure I was treating my body right. I just applied it to cheerleading, and it just kind of took off. And that's how I had like my most success, is all the principles and discipline training for the Olympics, brought it over to cheerleading, and obviously that was a huge factor, but also just being under amazing mentors, LeRoy, Christa, Allie, just represent the country under cheerleading for the United States, and then being around Summer Willis, my coach at Weber State. They just all, they all supported. I had goals and aspirations I wanted to do with cheerleading, and they all just followed through and just helped me become the athlete I am today.
I'm going to go to Ben here because Ben, I think, has a great perspective, not just being an athlete, but also having coached athletes who have now made the U.S. national team, which I think is super cool. But just real quick, one more shout out to our sponsor, Cheer Chalk. So again, if you just go to cheerchalk.us and put in the full out 10 discount code, 10% off of your order. So again, go to cheerchalk.us, put in the discount code full out 10. And also, if you've been enjoying this every day, just help me out. Just please subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube. Would really appreciate it. We've got some pull-out chats coming up in the next few weeks, and another awesome episode coming up in a few weeks that Christa is going to be involved with again. A little teaser there for everybody. But again, just please subscribe to our channels and on our podcast and help me out, which would be awesome. I appreciate that. So Ben, talk about being an athlete, and then now as a coach, seeing your athletes represent the USA and make the U.S. national team.
That's been one of the greatest joys as a coach. It's specifically the year I tried out and was on the team in 2015. I had a freshman on the team that came and watched tryouts, and he really only started cheerleading a couple months before his tryout, and he didn't have to throw a lot of elite skills or anything. He was essentially brand new to cheerleading when he tried at Ohio State. And just seeing him work and work and work, and then eventually doing partner stunt for Ohio State, and then eventually making the U.S. national team and winning a world championship and going to Poland. It was just a joy, to kind of pass it on. And then for younger team members, to see him grow, to inspire, future Ohio State cheerleaders to, want to pursue that. It's been really special.
So Christa, the first time you were involved with USA Cheer, and then the international the team walkout, and then the USA Cheer. I remember from the all girl episode, Kate Sexton was talking about just how loud the cheer is. It's literally deafening. Like you can't hear anything. It's just so loud. Kind of talk about your first experience in kind of the experience of watching these athletes you only get 10 days to work with, come together and do something special.
Well, my first year, and I kind of, I can have a strong demand as a coach and a high expectation. And I come into USA and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm ready. I'm coming behind David McDowell, who's absolutely amazing. I'm a female coach. There's LeRoy, who's amazing, and I want to impress. I like, oh gosh, I'm here. And then all I kept doing was every time LeRoy, what do you think about that? And I'm like, oh, that's so amazing. That's so good. What do you think about that? Oh, that's just so good. Like everything that year was amazing. Like it didn't matter. I mean, it could be laying on the floor for the first time, and I'd be like, wow, that was just so good. I just couldn't get myself it was so surreal. And I did snap in there a couple of times. Like my coach Christa kind of came in there, but then at the end of it, I'd be like, was that okay? Because that was really so good. Everything about it was just, like Whitney said, it's just like a pinnacle of what you're doing. And it's just so much bigger. And I had this feeling every day, it was chill bumps the entire time. And it was smiley faces every day. And I couldn't wait to get up and get in there and watch everything. And the first time walking out and everybody had told me you're going to love this. And I knew I would, but I was looking at in what we called the HP Field House or the Milk House, and, going to walk out, and I'm like, oh, I've been in there before, but it was not the same. It was not the same building. It was not the same walkout. It was not the same anything. And just this spirit that came through me, and this feeling and this pride and this humbleness and this honor, it was overwhelming. And I remember seeing pictures back to where I'm just like walking through, almost like I had never been there before, almost like I wasn't even in America. Like I wasn't in a place that I'd ever been before. And it was just, it just kept filling me. And then, all these countries around you, and like it was so hard. Like it was so hard to explain that year because everything was amazing. Like I just, I kept thinking like, did I even contribute? Did I even do a good job? Like I couldn't remember like everything because I just kept thinking like, this is so awesome. This is so good. And one thing my husband told me was, don't let any moment pass you by, make sure that you take every single moment in. And I really think that I did because it was all so great. And each year is still so great. It is still so new. It is still a new group. It is still a new experience. It is still a new team. I still get butterflies. I still get chill bumps. I still get that pride and that honor of, walking out there and just going, wow, look what we get to do. Look what we get to represent. Look at these athletes that are leading the way in this industry, and look at this coaching staff that I learn so much from. And then we have this American flag that is standing there, and given that opportunity to hear that national anthem, and it brings tears to your eyes. And there is not a feeling to describe that when you hear that, and you hear that name, and that just that pride that you have, and that honor of everything that you've learned and about your country, and about where you live, and about what you're representing, and now through your sport. And it's just it is just the coolest experience, and I look forward to it every time. I look for the new people. I look for the new innovations that the industry is bringing us to, and then learning from the athletes and the coaches and the trainers and the young athletes, the newest, that are in the, gosh, they don't even know so many things about the world or about life, but there are these amazing, Americans and these amazing athletes that are representing. It is. And then it all happens within this short period of time. It is truly something that I'm so honored to be a part of.
LeRoy, how many years now have you been the head coach for Coed?
Been the head coach?
Yeah.
7.
Okay. And you've been involved with USA Cheer now 8 or 9 years? 9. Okay.
9.
So, you've been able to coach now literally a whole generation of athletes and who have been able to experience this. Just talk about, I'm quite sure the years blend together, but just, I'm sure it doesn't get old. Just your experience from your, like, anything personal for you about that, the international team announcements, and then the international exchange, just the whole experience once you guys get down to Orlando after really the grind has been put in. Now it's just show off.
Yeah, I've always said if it ever gets to the point where it feels like it's getting old, then it'll be time for somebody else to do it. But it never does. Mm-hmm. It really never does. Like I have a closet in our hallway that my USA warm up is in, and literally, like, when I open that door to get something else out and I see it, like I get those feelings back. Like going up the ramp for me is probably the most exciting moment. Like just coming through, like they've already announced us and our kids have come out, and there's just mass of America that just comes down the ramp at the same time, and everybody's chanting. And I like to be like towards the middle of it so I can see their faces when they come through. the tunnel for the first time, and I'm usually filming in front of me and behind me just to see them enjoy that feeling. And like I literally, I mean, it feels the same for me every single year. It's never less exciting. It's I mean, I think of our country as a family. Like, it's not always pretty, but we all we got, you know? And so like the things that every person in this country's been through to make it what it is what I'm most proud of. And so like getting an opportunity just to wear those letters on my back or on my chest, and say that I get to do something to represent our country is what drives me and what keeps me coming back all the time. So, yeah.
And not only that, I know you got to go to Seoul for the Winter Olympics, which was awesome. We talked about that in our full out chat. I mean, just briefly, real quick. I mean, just talk about, being able to go to the Winter Olympics and get to be part of the USA experience of Olympics.
That was out of this world. And it's funny you say that because yesterday I was looking through my phone and started looking at the pictures that I had, and like an hour later, like it's really, really cool experience on a number of different levels. It wasn't our national team that we took. We took the University of Kentucky's team representing Team USA. But like getting to be with those kids and like getting to feel like a part of the unit that they already had was really cool, and getting to know kids that I didn't know, and then also getting to share experience with kids that I did. It was awesome. Like just everywhere we went was an adventure, sometimes good, sometimes in a bad way, but it was an adventure. But it's something that we'll never ever forget. And talking about walking down the ramp talking about coming down the ramp for opening ceremony, I remember standing at the closing ceremony after we had performed, and they're doing the parade of the athletes again coming out so they could have their official closing. And I remember just watching it and feeling like I was coming down the ramp at ICU, even though I wasn't going down with them, just watching them and going, oh, I know what that feels like. It was kind of neat to think that the atmosphere that's created at the ICU World Championship so resembles what's actually happening at the Olympics. And for us to get to be that close to it and be a part of it, and then actually go out on the infield with all the U.S. athletes, stuff was really, really cool. Amazing experience.
Well, before I let you guys go, the last question I'm going to ask you guys is just for anybody that's watching or will watch this in the future, because this will be on YouTube. This will be up forever. One piece of advice you would give to somebody who's thinking about trying out for the team. So I'll give you a second to think about that. We did get a couple of shout outs, and so just want to give that from a couple of alums from the program. So Jalen Davis gives a what up. Good old Jalen. He's our new coach at Ole Miss, which is awesome. And then Patrick Miller, just Patrick Miller, great guy. And then Patrick follows that up. These coaches are perfect examples of what leadership should be. They're the absolute best at what they do, yet they hold themselves to the highest standards and humility. They are the kind of coaches that inspire, a true example of American leadership. So that's a nice shout out from Patrick Miller to you guys. And then my guest a couple weeks ago, USA All-Girl coach, Tony Nash, LeRoy and Christa, I'm humbled and honored to work beside you. Great group of athletes here representing USA Cheer. Thank you, Ben, Whitney, Colin, Jay, and Whitney. 2021, get ready. USA Eagles wings out. So great shout outs there from people watching. So
we're only as good as our leadership. So we appreciate Tony.
Absolutely. And you saw Louis on here earlier, throwing out some love. So it's been great. So again, all right, here we go. I'm going to go to Colin first. Colin, besides being a freak stunner, which you are, that's great advice. I understand that. But what's one piece of advice for somebody that would watch this that is thinking about trying out for the U.S. Coed national team?
I would just say it is intimidating. I remember my first year when I tried out, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm around like some of the people I see on Instagram, on social media, some of the best stunters and tumblers and flyers around the world. And I was thinking like, man, do I really want to be here? Like, should I be doing this right now? like, I'm like, what am I doing here? And this is like my second year of cheerleading. And I know people cheer since they're 8 years old or like high school or freshman year in college. You know, this was only my second year of cheerleading, and I tried out for the U.S. national team. And I'm thinking, what am I doing right now? Like, do I really want to do this? But then I took a second and thought, like, yeah, you know, like this is something I want to do. I do want to represent our country. I want to be a prime example of a good cheerleader, you know, and a good stunter, and just a good athlete. So I would just say you just have to, you know, trust yourself and trust your training. So if you are wanting to try out for the U.S. national team, I would just say do it, but make sure you prepare. You got to know what skills you have to offer, because I am a stunter. I can't tumble that well, but I can facilitate if I need to. But I try to work on my weaknesses and try to be the best that I can be. So when I do go to the tryouts, you know, I can facilitate that position. So I would say, yes, if you are going to try out, do it, but make sure you have a plan. Be prepared, and also know your position. If you are a tumbler, obviously work on the skills of stunting that you need to do for the tryouts, but just be the best tumbler you can be the best stunter you can be. Know your position. And if you're overall, be the best overall you can be. So that's one thing. Be prepared, start training, and, you know, do it. I would say do it. Some of the best memories I've ever had, like, was also on being on the U.S. national team. I remember one of my best memories, kind of going off topic, is LeRoy. We train out in the sun at the football field on All-Star, and I wear a bandana, and to this very day, I've been wearing a bandana for years now. And I just remember I had a very, very bad sun tan line on my head, and I was about to go on stage and, you know, represent and do our routine on stage. And LeRoy said, "Colin, that looks awful. You got to wear your bandana. Wear your bandana. You ain't going out." He said, "You ain't going out there unless you cover that up with a USA bandana." So, you know,
he was the color of two different people.
Yeah. I was vanilla and chocolate at that point. So, yeah, I would say just do it. You know, train for it, prepare, and then just go out there and try out, because not only all the work I had to do to make the team was super worth it, but all the memories I have with the coaches and athletes, they are unforgettable memories that I will cherish forever.
All right, let's go to Whitney and Jay. Let's start with Whitney. Whitney, just, you know, piece of advice you would give about trying out for the U.S. national team.
I would say definitely, like Colin said, prepare yourself, but also when you walk into those tryouts, don't breathe a sigh of relaxing relief, because the tryout process is the most relaxed thing ever, and everybody there wants you to do well. And LeRoy's touched on this. Like, don't doubt yourself. Do not doubt yourself, because the way that these tryouts go, our coaches are so smart and they're so knowledgeable, and they put this together as a puzzle. It's not just like whoever's at the top of stunning or whoever's at the top of tumbling. It's what America needs that year. So don't doubt yourself. Just because you think that you might be weak in one place doesn't mean that your other expertise don't line up to what they need. You know, and it really is the most comfortable tryout process you will ever go into. Everyone is so supportive. And yes, like Colin said, you're going to look around the room and there's so many amazing people, and you're going to be like, do I belong here? But you do. And if you're even thinking about taking the chance, take the chance. Because if you happen to get there, then you're going to make the best memories of your life. And if you don't, you're going to know what you need to do to prepare for next year.
Jay?
For me, the biggest thing that I would say is don't cut yourself. You should never go into a tryout. If that's your dream, because that has always been my dream, to be a part of the U.S. national team. If it's it has always been your dream, don't cut yourself. I remember LeRoy messaging me each year or seeing me at competitions each year, and it's like, "Jay, you gonna come try out for USA?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." And then literally 2 weeks before, I'm like, "I'm not ready. I didn't work on my tumbling as much. I didn't work on my stunning as much." I would always think that, but this past year, I would always be like, I would literally go to LeRoy. I'm like, "You know what? This is that, and I'm not cutting myself. I'm going to go out there and I'm gonna try. And if for some reason I do not make it, that's a way for me to get myself out there to better myself. Because honestly, the tryout process is very relaxing. Everybody wants you to be the best you can do that day, but like you can never get out in front of somebody or in front of the top coaches or in front of the top athletes enough. You will never have that experience again. So just like I said, don't cut yourself.
Well, and you don't know. Sorry, I'm going to piggyback off him really fast. You don't know when, like, if you don't try out, there's never a chance. But you don't know whenever somebody gets hurt or somebody gets pulled. Like, sometimes they need an emergency, like break the glass, like call somebody. And trust me, I've
Whitney
been
was
there.
that emergency.
I've been there.
Been there.
A couple weeks ago, Caitlin Sexton talked about that, how she got pulled out of retirement real quick to help out the nation. Whitney Love, one piece of advice that you would give in regards.
You don't try.
Whitney, one piece of advice you would give for somebody who's thinking about trying out for the team.
Sorry, that was my dog. I feel like, so for me, it took me a few years to, I think, get the courage to go, because I did feel like I was maybe not good enough, but also that I wasn't good enough for what I thought I wanted to be. So just know that don't have that like expectation on yourself to be a certain athlete to go. Just go. Just like they're all saying, just do it. But honestly, when you get there, be yourself. Literally, there is nobody but you better than you at the time. It's you. So go and be yourself and have fun while you're doing it. And if you can have fun while you're yourself, then you are more than likely going to get picked, because what is more enjoyable to watch than someone who has the most confidence in who they are? And that's one of the most important things. I think that LeRoy has taught me since, the very, very beginning when he first coached me, like at OSU for just 1 year. I have a text message saved that I screenshot our last time, like on the van shell, and he texted our whole team and he said, have fun. And I still have that. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that Christa and Allie and LeRoy do such a good job at picking, like what they said, what their puzzle is and the pieces that go with the puzzle that they're trying to create for USA. And so if you can go and be yourself and then be realistic, if it's you, it's you. And if it's not, it's not. That doesn't mean that you don't have to try out again next time. So you are the best person that you can be when you want to.
Ben Schreiber, you've done it as an athlete and you've coached athletes who have made the team. So kind of what would be a big piece of advice you would give from both perspectives for anybody thinking about trying out?
Honestly, everyone has said some remarkable things, and I could piggyback off all of them. But really, I think preparation, as Colin talked about, and confidence. If someone said, hey, you have an opportunity to essentially get an interview for your dream job, what would you do to prepare for that? Now, you would think, okay, I would learn about the coaches. I would learn about, what the job is like, and, know the process, arrive early, do your homework, put yourself in, maybe you've been in that room before, maybe you haven't, but put yourself in your mind's eye, use your mind's eye to create that environment in your training. See yourself going through the tryout process. See yourself being on that team. Do what you need to do mentally, to put yourself in the best position possible. And then when you get there, as others have, hinted on, you got to be confident. You have to know you're there for a reason, and you have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, why are other people or the coaches going to believe in you? So everyone has said some good things. I kind of piggybacked off all of them, but I think also you got to do it. If you don't do it, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Christa, I mean, the athletes have said some great things. Maybe anything from the coach's point of view, something that you maybe people don't realize you're looking for at the tryout, or maybe things that the coaches are looking at that the athletes maybe don't really think about?
Well, one thing I think that, they've all spoke from their perspective, and they've all talked about like, well, I wasn't sure. But I think what we noticed, one thing is take a chance, because what you learn just in the tryout can prepare you even for another one. And you learn so much in such such a short amount of time going through that part of the process that you just learn so much to be successful to come back and try again and maybe live that American dream. I mean, and I think that's what it is. And I think if you give yourself that chance, then you're getting one step closer. And I do believe it's the American dream. And I think if you're dreaming big enough and you have the courage and the bravery to walk in, then you are taking the steps in the right direction to walk in that American dream. And, it is an American dream for me. I was not fortunate enough to be an athlete, but I am so fortunate to be a coach and to watch these people grow from, just so much from, their younger years to where they are now, to being standing out here. And the people that they are also the right Americans to represent this industry. And I think that if you want to show just even more about who you are, not just about the skill, just about, what you want to give and the giving side of you and the servant side of you, is to bring that forward and let people start learning.
And we save for the man that picks the team, the man that is the head coach, LeRoy McCullough. What is a piece of advice or advices that you would give to people thinking about trying out for that Coed national team?
Well, along with Ben said, everything that everybody else has said are things that I've told athletes before in preparing. I think doing your research is important to kind of know where you stand as far as the skill set. And it's real easy, to know. Just watch the routine from the year before. Watch the routine from the year before that and kind of see what elements are being thrown and know that if your skill set is in that range, then you have an opportunity to make the team. It varies from year to year because everybody else is doing that as well. So you just got to make sure that you kind of use that as your standard and then try to raise the bar after that. I think the most important thing, before I got on the call, my daughter was watching Hamilton. And really just don't throw away your shot. Just try. That's all you can do. Just try. And no matter what, when you're done, you're going to be better than when you got there because you're going to be in that environment with those amazing people. People are going to have already volunteered to help you and try to help you to be successful in the tryout. And you had the experience. And then if you're not fortunate enough to be chosen that year, you know what it's going to take to have a better shot the next year. So either way, it's going to be a win for you. So if your skills are up to par, don't be afraid to try and don't be afraid to fail because the good stuff happens from the mistakes that you learn from them. So don't be afraid of that.
This has been so much fun. I just want to thank you all again for taking the time tonight to join me and to share these stories and to share the experience of being on the Coed national team. Unfortunately, 2020 wasn't what we expected, but as Tony alluded to, 2021 will be here before we know it, and it will be a better year. It can't get worse. So it will be a better year for sure.
Hey, and I just want the world to know if the things that this 2020 team was working on, we're going to turn the world on its head. And a whole bunch of them are planning to come back for 21. So be prepared.
Including the Whitneys here, I guess, right? The Whitneys here are coming back.
Us, yeah.
We got some good stuff in store, I promise.
Well, I just want to thank you all again. I'm going to put you guys backstage and we can chat for a little bit afterwards. But I just want to thank you all again for taking the time tonight and sharing your stories. I really appreciate it. So thank you again, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
What an episode. That was so much fun. Some funny, great stories from great people who firsthand got to experience being on the U.S. national team, who've got to coach it, who have coached athletes who got to be on it, UC athletes, NC athletes, just great perspective from everybody. So I just want to thank everybody again for joining in tonight. Again, just a real quick shout out to our sponsor, Cheer Talk. Again, to get an extra 10% off, cheertalk.us, put in the full out 10 discount code to get an additional 10% off. It's a great product, made in the USA. practices are starting back up. So if it is something that you're looking into, it does help with grips. I would definitely use it. And also, just again, if you want to help us out, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also subscribe to our Instagram account, and also on Apple iTunes and Google Play, wherever you may listen. This will also be a podcast here in a couple of days that you can listen to. Please give us a 5-star rating if you do so enjoy what we're doing here on Full Out Chats. Again, in a couple weeks, I have something lined up. Christa will be involved once again, and that's the only clue I'm giving you. I will announce that here in a little bit. That's going to be a fun episode. And next week, we're going back to Full Out Chats, have some great one-on-ones lined up that we will be announcing via Instagram. So check out our Instagram to know what is coming up here on Full Out Chats. Again, I'm your host, Steve Solberg. I just want to thank you all again for joining tonight. It was a lot of fun. And as always, stay healthy and stay safe.